Hey everyone. So I wanted to make a quick video on our Stay Fresh freeze dryer. We had gotten this delivered about 2 days back, and this is our first, kind of official run in the machine. We did do a bread run on it yesterday, just to, we read online that's a pretty good tip to get some of the off-gassing or smells that may occur for the first time out and hopefully absorb into the bread, so that way it doesn't affect, future cycles or things that you're trying to eat or long-term store with any, unpleasant surprises. We did actually taste some of the bread, didn't really taste anything, so I'm not really sure if that's necessary. We did kind of clean down the machine beforehand as well, but we did it just to be safe. We ended up, I think, giving it to some of our neighbors since they have some, chickens or animals to use as feed. But anyway, this is, our first official run, as I mentioned. We haven't seen a lot of videos or information on the Stay Fresh freeze dryers. We were really torn between getting one of these and a Harvest Right. Ultimately, even though this was a bit more expensive, we pulled the trigger on the Stay Fresh instead of a Harvest Right for a couple different reasons. First and foremost, the build quality generally, I think, is regarded to be a fair bit better on this versus a Harvest Right. As you can see, the ice ring around here is super even, super uniform, just really high quality machine with, all the fittings being stainless steel, very sturdy, thick trays, shelves, really nice vacuum fit lines, nice ball seal valve for the fresh air intake, KF25 clamps, and a nice stainless steel hose for the vacuum line, down to the industrial vacuum pump with a nice demister, and overall really stout. I believe the machine itself weighs around 180 pounds and 60 plus pounds for the vacuum pump here. So really happy so far, no complaints at all. We did go with the 7-tray version, which, it's a standard size opening. This is, I believe, slots, at least tray size wise, between the Harvest Right medium and large size. And we did ultimately like the versatility of 7 trays, obviously allowing, being able to do a good chunk of food, but then also being able to get the 4-tray accessory or addition for when you do want to do foods that are, thicker, that will expand, such as some candies, etc. Really all in one machine, because this will allow you to do, a lot of food at once and help, get a kickstart on, if you're trying to do some long-term preps, or if you have a business, for instance, versus still having the functionality or practicality of the 4-tray version. So overall, really happy with the machine so far. As I mentioned, we ran a bread run through it yesterday. I believe, we kind of threw that in there, room temperature. The freezing cycle took around 4 hours, I want to say, before it started to dry. We threw that in room temperature again, and the drying time, I think, ran for the default 12 hours. We weren't, really concerned with how dry it actually was, since we weren't really eating it. And we did notice, so I do kind of, wonder what was going on as far as, as soon as the drying cycle started, we pulled a really solid vacuum. We were down under 500 in like 3 minutes, and then went as low as 250 mTors. And then about an hour into the cycle or so, kind of like we're sitting now, an hour, hour and a half, we noticed that the vacuum kind of came back up, sitting around 500, 550 mTors, just like it is now. So not really sure if it's normal. Like we said, this is our first, batch. Reading online, didn't, again, find anything specific for the Stay Fresh. For the Harvest Right, we did read that potentially it could just be like sublimation of when the water started to come out of the food. Ultimately, it didn't seem like there was any vacuum leak, because the vacuum temperature did, or vacuum pressure did come back down. So we're gonna chalk it up as normal. The other thing, as you can see, we obviously have some fans pointing at it. So we noticed that it got very warm, the vacuum pump. We did, for the first bread run, have the machine a little bit over to the right and then the vacuum next to it. So that probably wasn't the smartest idea. In fact, the instructions or manual tell you specifically to avoid doing that. because I think what it did is it created like a heat sink action going on, as you know, you have the condenser here, or intake, for the, you know, Stay Fresh machine, and then obviously the vacuum pump, you know, oil reservoir, and the compressor itself generating a lot of heat. But you know, with the fans on it, I can keep my hand here, and it's, you know, not cool to touch, but warm. Versus previously, you know, this was scalding hot, and I really couldn't even keep my finger there for more than a second or two. So vacuums have helped out a lot, as well as moving it, you know, down below the machine like the instruction manual suggested. Obviously, this is a very temporary setup in the corner of our kitchen as we wait, you know, reformatting our laundry room to accommodate for it. But, you know, we do have this setup going on. I'm not sure how the sound is coming across on the video, but, you know, I kind of just woke up, took the dog out, wanted to check on the cycle. It's 3 in the morning, so I'm not really speaking too loudly here. But yeah, I could easily have a conversation with somebody. You know, if I had this in my bedroom and I was trying to sleep, maybe that would be quite annoying, but the noise was a little bit better than I had expected. I am hearing some metal ringing from just metal on metal on metal, so I'm sure once I get like a proper, you know, tabletop there, or maybe some rubber pads underneath to help isolate that vibration, it would definitely help. But overall, you know, very impressed with the robustness of the machine, the build quality, the speed of how long it takes to freeze dry. This is running a really, you know, good bit of food. I like how the temperature probe will automatically kind of, you know, adjust the freezing or drying times as needed to ensure that the food is dry. We did also read online, you know, to pick up one of these little scales. I believe we got this, yep, from Amazon, because, you know, after the machine saying it's done and dry, it's really good practice, or really the only surefire way to know if it's fully dry is to take it out, weigh it, throw it on the scale, pop it back in for another hour or two to continue drying, and then recheck the temperature, or sorry, the weight. If the weight hasn't changed, then you know that it's, you know, fully dry and ready for long-term storage or safe. Versus if the weight has changed, then you know that, you know, there's some moisture or water that has still continued to come out of the food over that, you know, hour or two, and that you should continue to kind of dry it. So I'm here to hopefully help share some of those tips with everyone here, as well as hopefully learn from the larger freeze drying community. We did, you know, make a couple of mistakes already. As I mentioned earlier, you know, we have some of the mixed vegetables down here that we got from Costco. Those were really easy to kind of crunch down into the trays. But the baby carrots that my wife did as kind of a recipe she found online for some quote-unquote healthy Cheetos or cheese doodles, she had tossed it around in some nutritional yeast and then thrown on a bit of you know, some seasonings and things, or herbs, and we froze that in a Ziploc bag in the freezer. And the problem was everything kind of clumped up into a ball, and for the 7-tray version, you really have to kind of get them nice and packed down and organized into, you know, some lines to be able to get it under the lip and fit. So we actually needed to wait for the food to defrost a little bit before we could do that. Now that we have the trays, we plan on, you know, kind of prepping everything in the trays and then throwing it into our, you know, deep freezer. But that was something just to be mindful of going forward. So yeah, this video is already a lot longer than I had anticipated, especially here at 3 in the morning. So overall, really excited. Kind of just wanted to, you know, document and memorialize our first official batch run. If you have any questions, like I said, feel free to drop them down below. Any requests for videos or any tips, again, you know, feel free to share that, and we will, you know, try to update. I don't know if this will become a formal series, but, you know, we'll certainly try to keep everybody, you know, updated as far as, you know, our experience with the Stay Fresh specifically, as well as just the larger freeze drying experience. So, okay, until next video, happy freeze drying.